Good evening, everybody. Welcome, welcome. Can everybody hear me clearly? Can you all see the screen that Chané is sharing? You can just give me a thumbs up. Isabella, can you see? Yes, I can. Thank you, Hazel. Thank you, Ati. I can too. Thank you, Mabunte. Okay, welcome everybody. Thank you to everybody that's logged in. Today will be talking to Chané. She'll be talking about the medical insurance and repatriation. I'm not going to waste any time, but before we start, please everybody mute yourselves so that there's no interruptions with background noise. And then when we have the Q&A, then you can unmute. And then if you're facing any difficulties, please feel free to send a message in the group. Or if you're not able to hear us, log out and log in again. Don't worry, this will be recorded and posted on the YouTube page, which will share the link after the meeting, after the tabula is done and all the editing and stuff. So welcome, Chané. You can take over.
Okay, thank you very much. Hello, everyone. My name is Chané. I work at Abacare, based here in Shanghai, China. I firstly want to say thank you very much to EFH, Expat Finance Lab, for inviting me to present this topic to you today. We've received quite a lot of inquiries for medical insurance and repatriation benefits, so today we're going to deep dive on that. Today's presentation is going to take about 50 minutes, and then we'll leave the last 10 minutes open for questions. So if we go through today's presentations, please write down some of the questions that you have and feel free to ask them at the end. Maybe there might not be enough time to answer your question online, so please connect with me after today's presentation, and then I'll be very, very happy to connect and answer your questions after. Okay. So basically, to make today a little bit more exciting, please use English when interacting in the chat so that we can all understand. I think most people here are able to understand and communicate in English. So let's stick to one language, English, so that I can also read your question and I'll ask and answer as we go on. And then please participate when time is allotted. I'm not able to see the chat all the time, so there will be some times where I will ask to use the chat, and then we can interact. And then, of course, the end is more for Q&A. And then let's stay on task. So if we're focusing on one thing, then please try to focus on that specific question. Might this be medical insurance or repatriation? Because maybe your question might be answered a little bit later as well, because I'm going to break it down into a few different areas of focus for you, because we've received quite a lot of questions already from a lot of you. So I've created this presentation specifically for the questions that I've already received. So maybe your question will be answered. And then, of course, answer questions on the end. So just a little bit about Abacare. Abacare is an insurance broker, which was established in Hong Kong in 1997. And then they started to expand and established an office in Singapore, Shanghai, and Beijing. We're a team over 100 people with over 15 nationalities. As you can see here, we've got plenty of different expats working at Abacare with multiple languages. The Shanghai office, for example, has me, South African, so I can also speak Afrikaans. It's not listed here. But yeah, so English, Afrikaans, we've got Italians, French, Thai, so multiple from the UK as well. So many different nationalities in the Shanghai office only. And then we also partner with Eurobond and Steadfast, which you can see here on the map. They're on different areas like Philippines, Malaysia, and Indonesia. Now, Eurobond and Steadfast is basically where licensed brokers can connect, which means we're part of the global network of brokers. So any requests that you might have from your home country, we can connect to a partner in that country and then also give a solution there. So this is what is very important, making sure that you're working with a licensed broker, because we're part of that network. And then we're not able just to solve insurance solutions here in China, but also with our partners in other cities and countries, so that we can give you the global solution for long-term planning for your social insurance and your medical insurance, any type of insurance, home insurance, anything that you want. So this is just the background about Avocare. One of our massive strategic partners here is Datong. It's one of it was established in mainland China, and currently it's a very, very big network. They've got over 30,000 agents as well. So we are leveraging a lot of their products. So we're very flexible in the products that we're able to offer. So this is just a bit of background. So I've mentioned that we're a broker. So a lot of people say, well, why do I have to work with a broker and I don't use insurance directly? Well, because we act on behalf of the client, which would in this case be you. So if you have any questions, we can compare multiple different insurance options for you. And we don't favor one insurance because there's so many answers for your specific needs. And then, of course, like I mentioned, global planning. And then also because we're able to assist where maybe if you're working with the insurer directly, maybe they might not have the product or the solution for what you're looking for. Then you have to look again in the market. So if you're working with a broker, we've got multiple insurance options for you ready to go. So that's a little bit about us. So now let's deep dive a little bit into today's session. So first of all, we're going to start by looking at social insurance. This is very brief because I think a lot of you already know the social insurance structure in China. The main focus basically for today is private medical insurance, and then a deeper dive on evacuation and repatriation. And a question that I didn't receive from any of you, which I would like to introduce to you, which is also partly focused on evacuation and repatriation, is the assistance plans. And I think that's really the one that a lot of you are looking for, but I'll talk a lot about that later. So please do focus on number 4, which is also part of number 3, but yeah. Okay, and then finally, number 5 is more focused on general conditions, what is actually included in a medical plan and what is excluded. So what makes it easier and what makes it hard to get medical insurance. So first of all, for individual insurance, there's multiple options. For today's focus is mostly focused on assistance plans. And there's also insurance corporates. The purpose of insurance mainly is for insurance which serves as a shield. So a lot of people are thinking, insurance is so expensive and I'm spending so much money every year, but then maybe I don't use my insurance. That's not the purpose of insurance. If the purpose of insurance is therefore, if anything happens, then it can shield you. It can reduce the financial losses
you have. If you have an accident, if there's any injury, if there, building set on fire, or if there's any massive property damage from you or that you have received, it reduces that financial risk. And this is just in the case of when it does happen within that 1 year. So this is mainly the focus of insurance. A lot of people are saying, but it's so expensive. Well, if you don't have it, then the costs can be far outreaching the yearly premium of insurance. So this is just something to keep in mind. So social insurance in China, just to get all of you ready to interact a little bit, I've got a little quick questionnaire here. For social insurance in China specifically, do you know what is the medical emergency ambulance number in China? Can you please share in the chat what is the number, or you can unmute and you can speak in the chat. What is the emergency ambulance number in China? In the chat. 10010. Good guess, good guess. Sounds almost like a South African number. What's the medical emergency ambulance in China? 120, good, yes, correct. 119, okay. So we have multiple different numbers here, which already means that if you are in dire need of a medical ambulance, you won't know what number it is. So the correct answer here is 120. So if you are in China, if you are in China, the emergency ambulance is 120. You can call them and they will answer. They respond in English and Chinese in major cities. If you're not in a major city, it's recommended to maybe have an emergency contact that's able to speak Chinese to call this number on your behalf so that they can tell the ambulance your location to make sure that you get the medical assistance if you need. So this is if you need the ambulance. Please pay attention that this is for emergency only. It's not just for, you know, having transportation to a hospital. This is for emergencies only. And then for police, do you know what is the number to contact the police in China? Ah, I see a 119. That was very, very fast. Good job. Yes, very good. Oh no, that was from the previous one. Not 119. 110. There we go. Okay, I scrolled up by accident. 110. Yes, that is the correct number. So police is 110 in major cities. Again, they speak English and Chinese. Some tier 2 and 3 cities, they're able to speak English. So they can also help with assistance if you are in need and you don't have a friend next to you or near to you to call the ambulance. Police sometimes can also assist. And for the fire department, do you know the number for the fire? Ah, yeah, 119. There we go. Yes, there we go. 119. So the fire department is 119. So you can take a screenshot of this just so that you have the emergency numbers or save them on your phone. It's very important. So let's start with social insurance in China, because there is a medical coverage factor in here, but this is not the main focus of today. Please look at the middle column in the black. The benefits of the social insurance here. Some people have said to me that they don't have social insurance and some have. So my main focus for today is basically here to explain the medical parts of your social insurance. Where it is possible to access the hospitals, public hospitals with this card and receive treatment, it is quite limited. So you have with pension, you have inpatient and outpatient with this, and you can receive some medicine. This also has some serious work-related injuries that you can help cover. If you have an injury at work, you can help to claim from that or go to the hospital from that. But mainly there's some key limitations with this. This is why a lot of people are starting to look at private medical insurance, because with only social insurance, then you have some restrictions on hospitals, which means you can only go to public hospitals, but not all of the hospitals, only some that's listed in your city. So it's not that it's available everywhere. So you need to go to the designated private hospital, and you can find that out by talking to your HR or going to the office, which you can find these cards as well, or you can download the app to find out which hospitals you can visit. And then you can also only receive very basic treatment, and there's normally a deductible as well. So if you go to a higher tier hospital, for example, a city hospital, maybe you have to pay a higher percentage. So they have 3 tiers. One is tier 1 is community, which means it's a very small hospital. With normally this is a low deductible. So that means you need to pay first before you get treatment. Then you can go to tier 2 hospital, which is a district hospital. These are a little bit bigger. Maybe that you start to get some people who are able to speak English. You need to pay maybe around 70%, but every city has different percentage. So so you will pay, you get a deductible of 70%, which means you need to pay 30. And then the insurance will, cover 70% of the bill. But this is all different in different cities. And then tier 3 hospital is the highest quality. Normally this is for the city level hospitals, which insurance normally has a 50%. Yeah. So this is just basics for social insurance. Normally people struggle with language barriers or long queues or high deductibles, or it's very generic medicine or not a lot of advanced testing that can be done here. And this is why we recommend getting private medical insurance. This is what you pay from your own pocket to have medical insurance, or if you get it at your workplace. The only limitation is if you have it at your workplace, once you switch jobs, a lot of times they cancel the private medical insurance, which means, again, then you don't have your own medical insurance. So having your own private medical insurance is a positive, because when you switch jobs, you're consistently on a plan. So for now, can you please try to bring out your table of benefits, and then we can look at your plans together. So a lot of you have your own private medical insurance. You can go into the app and you can download the table of benefits to see what you have on your plan. And then if you don't have private medical insurance and you are looking to buy, then you could take a look now to see what kind of cover you want. Okay. So the most important thing here to understand with private medical insurance is what is included and what is excluded. Normally during an application for medical insurance, they give you a declaration where you have to check if you've had previous surgeries, or if you are under medication, or if you have any pre-existing conditions. This is the first step. If you have any pre-existing conditions, the insurer will have to review your case first to see if they're able to accept you as a person to give you the insurance. Most of the time they might exclude, but they have to definitely review. Sometimes they can accept your pre-existing condition, but they will increase the premium. And sometimes they can cover up to a gap and say, okay, we will give you maybe 10 or 20% of the total premium that you pay to cover this for, but it's capped per year. So if you're paying, say, 20,000 for your private medical insurance, it's capped at, say, 3,000 or 4,000 for a pre-existing condition. This is just an example. Every insurance have to review and then tell you what their final conclusions are. What is excluded is if you are from a specific nationality and you're applying in a country which excluded that nationality, or if you're traveling to a country where the country is in a war zone or something, then this is normally excluded. So also a lot of times which you have to pay attention, because we are a global network. If you're in China, sometimes it's difficult to ask South African insurance to insure you while you live here. So working with partners within mainland China, we're able to give people residing in mainland China insurance, but sometimes it's a little bit more challenging for other countries to insure. So it just depends on your area of where you're residing. You need to check if they are able to provide insurance for you and if it would be active. So here on the left, you'll see the core, the main things for insurance is hospitalization, which is inpatient plans. This is standard in all of the private medical insurance. And then normally they will cover things like chronic conditions, cancer treatment, and direct billing for inpatient. Normally there's a guarantee of payment that goes to this. If you're in emergency, you get a guarantee of payment, so the insurance will cover your inpatient treatment, because inpatient treatment is where you are admitted into the hospital and you stay there for a day up to 3 months, 6 months more. So the time is, you could stay there for however long you need the treatment, but the insurance will cover a big part. And this is normally where the major expenses are coming from. So added additional benefits. This is if you have your basic plan, your inpatient plan, but additional benefits is outpatient. This is if you see general practitioner or a specialist or something like this. For direct billing for outpatient, this is if you go to the hospital and you speak to a doctor, but you leave and you give them the insurance card. Some insurers will cover this on your visit, and some insurers will say you have to pay first and then claim for seeing a general practitioner or a specialist for consultation, and then you leave on the same day. So you just have to check if there's this direct billing benefit. Then also additional options are things like routine checks, maternity, dental treatment, glasses, and contact lenses. And then also something that are in the plans as a standard medical is evacuation and repatriation. If you don't have evacuation and repatriation in your plan, but you have the above, like hospitalization and non-hospitalization and those benefits, and you already have your insurance, but you're looking for an option because you don't have repatriation and you want to add that, then you can get something called assistance plans. So these are things that you can add: evacuation, repatriation, and personal liability that we're going to talk about today. So if you have your table of benefits open in front of you right now, you'll see something that looks like this. On my screen, it looks a little bit scary, but I'm just showing you here to compare different insurers so that you can see what different plans are. If you already have your private medical insurance, you can follow with your table of benefits. If you don't have your private medical insurance and you're looking for one, this is what it will look like when you're working with a broker like me. It basically compares different insurers. In this case, I've just put the word insurer because I didn't want to name all of the insurers that we work with or single out one, but this is what is important that you need to look at. First, on the left, we normally summarize the benefits that you have with the insurer. So plan one, for example, proposal one on the left, it only has hospitalization. This is the very basic. This is for if you get admitted into the hospital and you stay there. It doesn't have any other additional plans, benefit, like us. There's no outpatient or anything else on this plan. This is very, very basic. Then on proposal two, you can see that there's only hospitalization with an additional benefit with evacuation. In case of emergency, they can evacuate you to the hospital. On plan three, you can see it's getting a little bit more comprehensive. This plan has hospitalization, non-hospitalization or outpatient, evacuation, and repatriation. So as you can see, from the left to the right of the screen, the benefits just start adding up. And of course, the more benefits you add, the more pricier it becomes. Something that you can also do is focusing on the area of cover. So a lot of people are asking, if I'm in this city, is it covered? If I'm in my apartment, is it covered? Medical insurance is covering a broader area. So mainland China, for example, is one area. Then you could do Greater China, worldwide, or worldwide excluding US, because US is regularly considered as quite expensive. So a lot of insurers can give you a worldwide excluding US plan as well. So secondly, here you can see this is what it looks like for non-hospitalization. This is outpatient benefit. So as you can see, the one on the left is hospitalization only. There's no outpatient benefit, so it's blank. However, in plan three, you can see that there's 15,000 and plus. And then for insurer 4, it's 20, then 60, and then insurer 6 is all covered. So you can also say how much you normally spend in the hospital per year. So if you go very often to the hospital, normally your hospital fees are between 20 to 30,000 yuan per year. Then of course, this is the kind of outpatient benefit that you need to look for when you're buying an insurance. If it's much less and maybe you don't go at all, then getting a very limited one could be good, because you could do a long-term plan with this insurer. Changing insurers is not very good, because if you do develop something later, it's difficult. Like I mentioned, they will exclude the pre-existing then. So staying with the insurer for long-term is good. So we think we're healthy now, we can get something inpatient only, but 5-6 years from now, we might start using it a little bit more. And then when we want to change insurance, it might be difficult. So get the plan which you think is going to be good for you for the future. Yeah. All right, then there's multiple other benefits. So I'm going to just skip for the sake of time to the annual maximum limit, which is very important when you're choosing a medical insurance. You want to look at what is the limit. So you're thinking, if there's something really bad happening and you're spending a week or 2 weeks, 3 weeks, a month, 3 months, 6 months in the hospital, what will the fees look like? So the annual maximum here on proposal one, for example, is 1 million. So thinking that, you know, if nothing super serious happened, it might be enough. But we have also received some claims of somebody that's been hospitalized for 3-5 months, and then it exceeded 1 million. So having a good cover for annual maximum limit for your entire inpatient and outpatient plan per year is very important to consider when you are looking at your medical insurance. Something like maybe if you're going into 3 to 4 million annual maximum, that is a little bit more manageable. Also, if you're traveling outside of mainland China to a little bit more expensive areas for for treatment, it could disappear very quickly. So make sure that you are quite set with your annual limit, and it is something that you feel safe with. Secondly, as outpatient is a benefit, I mentioned, sorry, inpatient here is direct billing normally. However, outpatient is normally a benefit. So some plans will have it covered. When you go to the hospital, you give them a card, and some will not. So you can see there, if it doesn't have a yes under outpatient, then it means you have to pay first and then claim. And then the question you've all been asking, my plan doesn't have evacuation and repatriation. So as you can see here on the proposal 1, there's no evacuation, which means if there's a medical emergency here and you're hospitalized already and you want to move to another hospital, to evacuate you to another hospital, that has to be paid by yourself. However, in plan 2, it has the evacuation benefit, which means if you're hospitalized and you want to move and you want to activate your insurance, you can move to another hospital within the scope and area. And then for proposal 3, that's repatriation. And that's the same. It's just basically moving back home to a hospital to receive treatment. So that's the difference between evacuation and repatriation. So I will do a little bit deeper dive in evacuation and repatriation, because a lot of people ask, what's the difference? Evacuation basically means that they're getting you to the care. Okay, so they're moving you from a hospital that you're in to, maybe if you're not able to receive the treatment at that hospital, they can evacuate you to another hospital, to maybe the nearest one, or one that's able to give you the treatment that you require, just so that you can recover. But they're only able to evacuate you when you are stable. So if you're in an emergency and you are already hospitalized and you're unstable, they will not move you. But your insurance can help you to move when you are stable. If in the case that you need land or air ambulance, this is also available if it's approved. And then of course for maternity, if you have a maternity plan and you are in a hospital and you need evacuation, this you need to check to see if you get the approval to evacuate to another one. But these are often available in plans, including repatriation. As I mentioned, the repatriation is getting you to the country of nationality. If you don't want to go back home for treatment, for example, you can also arrange with the insurer that if repatriation is needed, which country would you like to be repatriated to? And it needs to make sense why you need to be repatriated to that country. They will not just agree to repatriate you to any country. Yeah. And again, this has to be when it is stable. This is if you're still alive and you are in the hospital and you just need repatriation to a different country where you're able to receive treatment. Then, of course, if death occurs, and this is, I think, a lot of your questions is, if death occurs, what happens to your bodily remains and your ashes? Well, the insurer is able to repatriate either the body or full ashes. The insurers do act differently. So it's very important to understand what your insurance agreement is and how your insurer will act on it. Yeah. Yeah. So for example, a maternity, for example, if you have a maternity plan, sometimes when the pregnancy is not successful in one or the other or both, does not make it, then some insurers will repatriate both, but some will say only the mother because the mother was under the plan, but not the baby because this baby is not insured. So this is also something that you need to discuss with your insurance. Okay, and then oftentimes if an individual by themselves is on a individual plan for medical insurance and they have repatriation on their plan, normally these insurers will include a return ticket for one accompanying person and provide hotel stay to be with that person maybe during the recovery in the other country. So this is also something that you could check with your insurer. So something that's extremely important here, and this is something that we've seen very often, is when repatriation happens, you need to make arrangements with the insurer directly, and the insurer will make the arrangements and say how the transportation will be done. And if the insured or the family refuses the method of the insurer, most likely the insurer can then refuse to participate in their repatriation process, even though the medical plan has a limit of support. So in this case, if the family or individuals intervene and say that they don't agree with this method of repatriation and they don't accept it, the insurer will be okay with that and say, okay, fine, but then you need to deal with the repatriation by yourself. So in the case that a person is in need of repatriation, the insurer needs to be made aware and the communication needs to be done between the insurer and the hospital, the embassy, and multiple documents are involved, which they're very good at communication with. So they normally have a process for this. So when you do activate this benefit, communicate directly with the insurance so that they can do all of these processes for this individual who is insured under their plan. Okay, so talking so much about evacuation and repatriation, the following slide is going to give you a little bit deeper dive. So we're going to go into a little bit more realistic scenarios so that you can kind of understand now what to do when you are in this situation, or if a friend is in this situation, and what to expect. Okay. First, we'll talk about evacuation for medical treatment. So person A woke up one night in his home having a sudden medical emergency, experiencing limited movement and needing immediate medical assistance. Who did he call? Can you share in the chat? Who do you think, if you're in this situation, or person A is in this situation, who did he call? Think about the emergency numbers. Is he using an evacuation or a repatriation? Not yet. He's now only in the emergency. Who did he call? Extremely quick. Very good. Call 120. Yes. Very good. 120, the ambulance. Because he's in his home, unable to move, so he needs maybe the ambulance to come to him to pick him up. They have the gurney to carry you. They have the crutches available. They have all the medical necessities. Most likely they would want to know what kind of symptoms you're experiencing so that they can have everything ready in the ambulance when they arrive to your place. It could take 5 to 10 minutes normally for them to arrive, but it could also take a little bit longer. Just depends on your area of residence. And then it expands. So now person A spent several days in the nearest public hospital from his home and will have spent several days more for further treatment. He prefers to spend the remaining time in a private hospital because he has insurance. Who did he call? Does he speak to the hospital and insist to leave by himself so that he can go to the private hospital by himself? Does he call another 120, or does he call the insurance? Who does he call? Does he call his friends, family? Drop in the chat. Insurance. He calls evacuation. We're getting different answers here. Okay. Yes. Oh, okay. That was a correction I see now. Okay. Excellent. Yes. So he calls the insurance to help him with this process. Because there's a lot of different documents and they need to check the medical reports to see if he's in a stable condition to be able to move to a private hospital. Now let's talk about repatriation for a medical treatment. This person is still alive. Person B receives treatment for 3 months and activated their repatriation benefit to receive further treatment in his home country. This could be a very severe condition. Maybe they don't think he's going to make it. Who did he call? Well done, Yo-Yo. Yes, he called the insurance so that the insurance can help to deal with the repatriation. And finally, let's say there is a fatal case. Unfortunately, during these kind of events, it is, it's fatal. So there needs to be a lot of processes involved. And for me to say there's a cookie cutter method is not possible, because it's not a simple process. Once they identify this person, then, the embassy and many other people are involved normally during this kind of thing. And this is why it's very important to notify a next of kin or your medical emergency contact of the policies that you have. The reason for this is because if they don't know that you have these kind of policies, they will try to intervene and try to make arrangements for you. But like I mentioned earlier, once they get involved and they start to make arrangements, the insurers can say, well, okay, since the process has already started, we cannot do anything anymore. It's too complicated now. So let your insurance step in and then make the arrangements. Ask them what is the best procedure to follow through. If they say they will handle it, then let them handle it, unless you have your own, if you have a different opinion than them and you prefer to do it by yourself and not use the repatriation benefit for the emergency plan, this is also an option then. Okay, so for the next 10 minutes, we're going to talk about the assistance plans. Right now, I've spoken about the very basic and general medical insurance plans that you have. So normally, if you just go to insure, or if you get a medical insurance through your company, or if you're working with a broker, then normally you get a standard plan for medical insurance. And if you would like additional plans, let's say, for example, if you have your inpatient plan only, but you don't have the evacuation and repatriation benefit, but you want those, then you can start to look at assistance plans. Assistance plans are basically like top-up plans on an already existing policy. And if you don't have a policy, that's also okay, because assistance plans is just to help you. It's to assist you in wherever you are or whatever you want insurance. Sometimes these should be connected to another policy, but sometimes you can also have a standalone. And since the topic of today is repatriation, I've included some assistance plans for repatriation. So if your medical insurance doesn't have it, then this is something that you could consider. Okay, so what is a repatriation assistance plan? It works very similar to a repatriation plan in a medical insurance. However, if you don't have your own private medical insurance, this plan also does not have any medical support. This is literally just focused on repatriation. So first scenario here is to be repatriated when you are seriously ill or injured abroad. So the focus here is if you are in a hospital for a couple of days or months and you need to be repatriated. I see a question here from somebody. In the case where a person would like to be cremated in the case of death, did you guys help? This should be communicated with the insurer or with your next of kin, because this is something that you will have to discuss during that process. But yes, they do also. The thing is, some insurers will will first see with your embassy, with the legal laws, and with what they're able to manage with this current case, since you have passed already, if it would be best suited within the country legal regulation if the body is cremated or if the body itself is moved within the coffin. So it's very different per country. But it's best to check with the insurer or your broker in this case, which plans allow, because some plans allow only cremation, for example, in certain cities, countries. And some say they will not do that, they will move the entire body. So it's best to check that. So I'll go back to the content now and I'll answer more questions later. In the case that you are completely seriously ill or injured abroad, but you are not dead, then once you have stabilized within the hospital that you're receiving treatment, you can then be repatriated. This is the assistance plan. This is not the benefit of a regular medical insurance. Some assistance plans also include search and rescue costs, which means if you're lost in an expatriation country, the benefit can find you, or they have a budget to try to find you. This is either to find your body or to find you in any other situation, but the insurance need to be notified and get normally the police record of this person is missing. Some also include the benefits of if the person has been hospitalized for 6+ days, depending on the severity, then the assistance plan can fly in one of the family members so that you can be here. So earlier I mentioned if you're in a situation, you can be repatriated back home so that you can be surrounded by loved ones, family in your own hometown, but sometimes it's not possible. So in some plans, they can fly your family one ticket or into your country where you're hospitalized for a longer duration of time so that you're not alone. And then also some insurers, they can find and source medicine that's not available in where you live, so that if you are in a critical condition or so and you need your medication, but you need to be very specific on the wording of the policies. Some includes this benefit to help you source medicine, but normally just once. This is for emergencies only. This is not a regular delivery service. So this is available. And also something that's important is thinking about if a person is hospitalized for a longer duration of time, what happens to pets and children? Some insurers help out with this. They give a budget to take care of children and pets as well. This is not a standard evacuation and repatriation plan. This is the assistance plan. So please do pay attention that this is not part of your, depending on which plan you have, but some have this and some do not. So don't take that all of what I've said right now just is standard for all the plans. There's multiple different plans out there. Let's say in the case of mortal remains, if death occurs, the body or ashes, depending on the regulation of the country and the arrangements that the insurer makes, they can then repatriate either the body or the ashes, and then also care for the dependents under 18 within a budget, the pets, and then also sometimes, depending on the case, you need to share some information with the insurer. Sometimes they can even repatriate if there's a family that's living here and the insured person gets repatriated back home. Oftentimes they can also repatriate the family to move out of the city or go back home. But it just really, again, the wording of the policies, you need to check this. Of course, during repatriation, this is a very emotional time. So very often you'll see in repatriation assistance plans that they provide a couple of times where you can receive psychological support and speak to a clinical psychologist, so that you can also be okay. Yeah. This is normally available if you have like a family plan. So maybe you have a couple of family members living abroad and you're on this plan, and if you have this policy, normally you can get the psychological support if one of your family members dies. Yeah, and then of course, like I mentioned before, there's really a lot of legal assistance during repatriation that the insurer has to make, and also if you are, what, this one, hold on, sorry. If you're living in abroad, sorry, if you're living abroad, some repatriation plans also include more for legal assistance. Now, this is not for your current jobs. This is just for living and creating a life outside. Very often repatriation is not just focused on death and hospitalization, but also getting you out of very difficult situations. So if there's an unintentional legal violation, which means you are put into jail or something that you cannot deal with, very often repatriation plans also have an assistance plan for legal things, to maybe provide a bail so that you can be repatriated out or get out of jail, or legal advice. There is normally a lot of wording in the policy that you need to read, but they do provide assistance in certain circumstances. This is to say that the laws have not intentionally been broken, but if there was like a big misunderstanding and you need support from your assistance plan to help you to get out of the situation, sometimes they also offer this. And then of course, because it is we are expats, we do travel quite a lot. If there is a chance that you are in an evacuation or a repatriation situation on your travel, then these kind of plans normally also can help to reimburse up to a certain amount, or they can help you cover some costs that can get lost, like because there's a lot of time maybe that you will not be spending in the hospital, but rather in the in the hotel, but you would be rather spending that in the hospital. And then the insurer will help you to reduce the financial losses that you incur during your travels. Assistance plans normally have personal liability cover. Personal liability cover, this is if you get something like, this is to protect your financial losses if you inflict damage on a third person by accident. This is like if you, could be anything. I'll give a scenario where you accidentally turn around, somebody's next to you and they fall downstairs, they break their legs, and you are then responsible for their medical fees. Normally, assistance plans include personal liability, where your liability fees gets reduced, so you don't have to spend so much on this kind of expenses because it's really accident. Your plans can try to help to cover the medical fees or any fees if they say, well, I'm going to sue you for pushing me down the stairs. Then there's legal fees that can be covered, or this kind of thing as well. So this is also a great benefit to have with this kind of thing. And normally these kind of things are included in a lot of plans, like even home insurance, for example, have some personal liability. So I'm not going to go too much into this because it's just added to your assistance plans for repatriation. So for yourself, to make sure that you're a okay person to travel around for yourself. And if you accidentally inflict pain on someone else or a building and there's property damage, then it's also covered. So it does reduce some financial losses as well. All right. So we're 15 minutes in. For the last 5 minutes, I'm gonna, 2-3 minutes, I'm gonna talk about the general condition exclusions. So all of this sounds really great. You have your social insurance. If you don't have your social insurance in China, then this is something maybe for your HR. This is not something that I can really help with. For private medical, this is of course private. So this is if your expenses and things, evacuation, repatriation, and assistance plan. So all of these are just basically to create protection for yourself in the case of evacuation and repatriation. Now let's look at the general condition and exclusions. Earlier, I mentioned that some insurers will not accept pre-existing conditions and these kind of things. That was mainly focused on your private medical insurance. But of course, if you're getting an assistance plan, assistance plans for repatriation, which includes your private personal liability, they also have a general condition. So what I'm going to talk about now is based on the assistance plan. Normally, to qualify for coverage, you must be eligible for within the country of application. So a lot of these, like I mentioned, if you're staying in China, you can speak to me. We have a insurer that we work with that's global. I've already confirmed because there were so many requests. For you to live here, you can get these kind of plans. These kind of plans are normally worldwide cover because repatriation, normally they focus on getting you back to your country of residence. And then also you must fall within that age limit. So sometimes they say, you need to be starting from, 30 days old to 70. So you need to fall within these age limits. So for specific plans, you can just check. And then for something that's also important is having multiple policies are permitted. You are able to have 2 medical insurances, or you are able to have a home insurance, a private personal liability, and a repatriation assistance plan. But some insurers recommend that you disclose if you have a double policy. So if you already have your own private medical insurance, but you think the cover is not sufficient and you get a second private medical insurance, you need to declare and say you have another one. The reason for this is because they want to avoid double claims. So if you make a claim from one insurance and you make a claim from the other insurance to get double money back, this can then result in complete cancellation of your plan from the insurer, which means you even lose all of the money that you have paid for it, depending on the terms of the policy, or they can deny your claim. So normally, if you are already insured and you want to make a claim with one insurer, that's fine. But as soon as you want to make 2 claims for the same injury or same treatment, normally that's not allowed. Okay, and then for common exclusions, for these kind of plans, I'm talking about assistance plans only. So if you want to get the repatriation assistance benefit, for example, normally they will exclude the things that's pre-application, depending on the wording on the kind of plan that you want. But if you have a heart condition, for example, they will exclude this completely. And if you don't have the heart condition, or if you don't have the heart condition and you make the application and you develop the heart condition after the plan, then of course, then it's to be reviewed. So this is something to look at. And also there's a cat on the computer. There's also general exclusions, which is high risk sports. So you can get some policies, let's say, for example, travel policies or something like this. But if you travel and you do high risk sports like bungee jumping or something that maybe diving from like into more than 18 meters or 30 meters, like very, very deep, normally they will exclude because it's high risk. These kind of things. Now, repatriation, they have also some exclusions. If you act, maybe you want to, commit suicide or do self-inflicted pain, this will also then not work because it's injury on your own self. These plans will not work. And then also for war zones and sanctioned areas. So maybe, for example, if you're in China, these plans are allowed. You can apply, you can use the plan, you can go back to any other country, and that's fine. But if the country as an excluded country that's currently in unrest, these plans will not work there. So it's just something that you need to pay attention to. Okay. So we're right on time. Very much for your time. Here's some of the offices that I work with here in Abu and Singapore, and you can scan here. Thank you very much for your. We're going to spend the next 5 minutes for Q&A, 5 to 10 minutes. Answer them. Okay, I'll stop sharing my screen and then we can jump. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's a very, very good question. That's really a good question. These costs, they have different plans available. However, we're not recording anymore, right? No, we're not recording anymore, right? I just want to make sure because yeah. Okay. Okay, you can stop the recording now and then we'll just I'll answer the questions a little bit more in details.